Are Google Ads still worth it now in 2024? You see, a lot of e-commerce brands message us all the time how they can improve their Google Ads and why they stopped working, and that their CPCs are too high, too much competition, conversion rates are low, they struggle to scale. And in this video, I want to talk about whether Google Ads are still worth it, how to approach them, and what the differences are in terms of Google Ads for small, medium, and large brands. So without any further ado, let's jump right into the video so that you can know for yourself how to best use Google Ads in your specific case. You see, back then it was very easy. You had a set budget, you were using manual CPC, you used your most important keywords for your brand, for your product, and you were basically printing money up to a certain level. And yes, back then button clicking could get you very, very far. So knowing how to tweak your CPCs and following a few best practices when it comes to your ads, and basically you were at $100,000 to $300,000-$400,000 per month already. It didn't take that much more than that. Nowadays, though, it has gotten a lot more complex. You see, everyone has access to the same automation tools. Everyone has access to PMax. Everyone has access to, target ROAS, to automatic asset creation, and so on and so forth. So the question really is, what is there left to do, and what exactly separates the brands that are making like $2 million a month, for example, as our biggest client does right now, and the brands struggling to hit 50,000 per month on Google, right? And the answer isn't that easy, because there are many, many things at play. And what you need to know if you want to enter Google Ads is that basically I believe there are three overall budget levels that have different that can have different expectations, but that also have to be aware of certain things that they have to do when it comes to Google Ads. In general, it is a lot more now about like the ad structure, the overall account strategy, negative keywords, having proper assets, optimizing your feed, your merchant center analytics, tracking, checking the overall funnel, checking how Google Ads works in combination with other platforms like Meta, and also what's very, very important, to optimize what happens after the click, right? You cannot purely rely on sitting in Google Ads anymore and just thinking that if you get some high quality clicks to your site, they will automatically convert. You still have to check your product pages, optimize them, think about how to, optimize the presentation of your products, optimize your store in general, and so on and so forth. But let's talk about the three different budget levels. So the first one is the entry level budget, right? If you just have a few $1,000s per month to spare, typically you will see pretty good results from Google, but on a very low level, of course, right? I made the experience that if you spend, let's say, $3,000 a month or $4,000 a month, and your store is in decent shape and you are in a space that has some level of demand, it is pretty easy to get to like 15K or 20K or something like that per month in revenue, which if you are a tiny online store and you just want one extra channel that you don't want to spend too much attention on, is a pretty good thing. You can get there with some PMax, with some shopping, a little bit of search maybe, and that is not all that difficult. When we go into the second budget phase, though, the medium budget, which of course there is no clear definition of that, but let's say if you spend $15,000 a month or $25,000 a month, something along those lines, right? A good 5-figure amount, let's say. That is, in my opinion, the most difficult area at the moment. Let's assume you spend $30,000 a month, which I would also consider a medium budget in the medium-sized, small to medium-sized e-commerce business space. $30,000 a month. Now you definitely have to go beyond the absolute lowest hanging fruits that you had when you were just spending $3,000 a month. But at the same time, at $30,000 a month, typically you cannot afford crazy creative production. You are not creating advertorials and all kinds of fancy landing pages at scale. You probably are still not big enough yet to convert a ton of super broad long tail traffic that is not 100% relevant, that you then have to retarget later on and so forth. So those 30, 40, 50,000 per month, whatever it might be again, that is in my opinion the real critical part of Google Ads. And that is where I would say the most challenges are, because as I said, you cannot purely rely on some easy low hanging fruits on shopping and PMax, because you have all of those in place already. Of course, all of that depends on the space, the industry that you're in, whether it's a crazy mass market or super niche. Some markets might literally be capped at 100,000 per month in revenue, but for most markets, I would say that if you spend 30, 40, 50,000 a month, then you are past the absolute lowest hanging fruits already. And I would say in many cases, you still have a lot of room for growth just from pull channels. So shopping, search, and also like the shopping and search part of PMax, which is still just shopping and search. But in many, many areas and in many industries, there are still more than enough customers ready to buy from you that are actually actively searching. Okay, but it is pretty difficult to get there. And then we have the third group, and those are now again the deep pockets, right? The people that can spend good amounts on Google, let's say 100,000 plus per month or 150,000 per month or something along those lines. At that stage, typically you have a bunch of very powerful channels. You probably spend a whole lot on Meta. You have a good organic ranking. You have a very dedicated email flow and so on and so forth. And if you spend, let's say 150,000 per month on Google, typically you can also afford some better creatives. And that is where now, after you had that plateau when you were having these medium budgets, where now it actually turns around again and you can do more with Google than what you could do, for example, 10 years ago, right? Because back then, you had the advantage when you were starting because you could buy some easy clicks at very cheap prices and make some easy sales. But once you really wanted to scale to crazy levels, then it was getting quite difficult. And at some point, there was this plateau. Now, if you have very, very high budgets, first of all, of course, the first step should still be to dominate your market in like search and shopping, right? That is still the lowest hanging fruit, even at crazy scale. But then once you have that, you have so much conversion data in your account, you know who your customers are, and especially Google now knows who your customers are. And you can actually go ahead with display, demand gen, YouTube, an overall like advertorial strategy, moving up the funnel, going with PMax that is not just shopping, and really nurture customers. And that is how you can add tens and tens of thousands of dollars per month to your ad spend profitably. But you have to, of course, keep in mind that now it's not about like showing an ad and getting an immediate sale like the same day, right? At a certain level of ad spend, unless you are in a truly gigantic space and everything, you have to simply accept the fact that those conversions might take a little bit longer, and also that you have to spend more and more money on top of funnel activities. But then, and again, that's the beauty of it, then Google is a crazily scalable traffic source just because they have invested so heavily into all these push marketing channels like YouTube and Discovery, or the demand gen campaigns as they are called, on the Discovery network. In other words, now it offers both things. It offers the classical pull marketing channels with shopping and search, and it offers those push marketing channels once you're ready for it. But the important point is to not confuse when to use those. I've seen many accounts spending just $2,000 dabbling around with a demand gen campaign or with a PMax campaign with 50 assets that were impossible to optimize and scale and everything. So stick to those pull marketing channels in the beginning. In this critical medium phase, as I said, you have to still optimize shopping and search as much as possible, but try some occasional, additional campaign types as well. That is really a tough period to go through. And then once you are at that very, very high level again in terms of volume and everything, now it's time to heavily invest into those additional campaign types. They will probably still perform overall below your shopping and search and PMax, but that is really how you will be able to really, really grow in the future, especially if you have like an e-commerce D2C brand. So with that being said, if you are at some of these stages, especially in the middle and in the large space, in the middle and in the large category, right? And you wonder how to scale to the next level, you hit an invisible ceiling, your campaign's ROAS is declining all the time, then make sure to check the link in the description, watch the short video on our cartlift.co page, where I talk a little bit about our so-called Ignite framework that we use to scale brands to all the way up to $2 million per month right now. And if that sounds good to you, feel free to schedule an Ignite call with us, where we actually tell you what is possible for your brand based on the products you sell, the prices you have, etc. And then we can discuss, and you can let us know whether you think it makes sense to work together on it. But first of all, we will actually give you like a tailored roadmap for what you can do in your specific space. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. Leave a like if it was, and let me know in the comments in which of these 3 rough budget stages you are in. And with that being said, I look forward to see you in the next video again. Bye-bye.